Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Let us continue with our tafsir of Surah Aal-Imraan bihawlillahi wa quwwatih. And we are on ayah 184. قال الله تبارك وتعالى فإن كذبوك فقد كذب رسل من قبلك جاءوا بالبينات والزبر والكتاب المنير. The words here are fairly straightforward. If they kadhabuka, belie you, meaning call you a liar, then messengers before you have been belied. In other words, this is nothing new. These messengers, they came with bayyanat. So this is anything which makes bayan, which brings clarity. So this could be ayat of the scriptures, it could be physical miracles, and that type of thing. Was zubur? This is the plural of zabur, which means a kitab or a scripture. Now, some say that zabur is a book of laws, an ahkam. Others have said that it is a book of preaching, not laws, but preaching, meaning that which you should do and that which you should not do. And he says, wal kitab al-munir, kitab meaning book, munir from anara yuniru inaratan, to enlighten or to give light. So here this is a book which not only sheds light on affairs, but it itself is a clear book, meaning easy and clear to understand, not ambiguous. So one may ask, what is the difference between the Zubur and the Kitab? Are they all not just scriptures that the prophets and messengers brought? The answer is yes, but you can describe the same thing in different ways. So it is a Zabur, as in a book of preaching, and it is also an enlightening book, which itself is clear. These are two different descriptions of the same thing. Anyway, reflecting on this ayah, the main lesson to take is the fairly obvious one, that this ayah is a solace to the Prophet. Because if you know that other messengers had been belied before you, then you know you're not the only one. And this idea of knowing that you're not the only one going through calamities is a comforting thought. We also learn that the messengers before the Prophet were also belied, yet they kept patient. In Surah Al-An'am we read, وَلَقَدْ كُذِّبَتْ رُسُلٌ مِّن قَبْلِكَ فَصَبَرُوا عَلَى مَا كُذِّبُوا وَأُوذُوا. Messengers before you were belied, but they kept patient and they were annoyed or harmed. We also learn that the messengers came with bayyanat. This could take the form of physical miracles, like how Isa a.s. performed many of them. It could also take the form of scriptures. And we also learn that they did indeed bring scriptures to guide people, to teach them their deen, and to preach to them, and to enlighten them. Ayah 185. كل نفس ذائقة الموت وإنما توفون أجوركم يوم القيامة فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. So this ayah begins by saying that every nafs will taste death. Now nafs normally would mean a soul. If that's the case, then a soul of course does not die, but the maut here would mean the soul being transferred from the physical body to the barzakh period. Notice the word taste is used, from dhaqa yadhuqu dhawqan, to taste something, because death is an experience which will be felt by everyone. So it is just like tasting food, because that is also an experience which is felt. And he says that you will be tuwaffawna, from waffa yuwaffi tawfiyatan, to give in full, or to pay back in full, ujurakum, your rewards, meaning your reward of your actions, good for good, evil for evil, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the day of rising or standing. And he says, whoever is زحزح, this is from the verb زحزح, يزحزح, زحزحة, which means to remove something far away, عن, from something else. So whoever is removed far away from the fire and made to enter Jannah, from أدخل يدخل إدخالا, to make something or someone enter something, فقد فاز, then he has been successful. From فاز يفوز فوزا, which means to win or to be successful. And he says that the al-hayat al-dunya, the current life, so dunya meaning near or lower, this nearer life or the lower life is nothing but a mata', which means provision or enjoyment, of ghurur, meaning deception. How is it a deception? Well, because it's going to end, and yet the oblivious person is thinking that he's going to live a long life. Nobody is expecting to die anytime soon, and yet people die. So here we have then people enjoying the luxuries of this life, not expecting to die, and then before you know it, it all ends. So it's a deception in that sense. It's also a deception in that it distracts you from the remembrance of Allah Jalla wa Ala. As for a person who gives Allah Jalla wa Ala his due rights, then the enjoyment which he takes from this world is not a deception. So reflecting on this ayah, we may take that death is real and is a certainty. Every single person will die. So people who talk about trying to build devices or medication to live forever are deceiving themselves. We also see that this ayah is encouraging us to be hasty in working righteous actions before death overtakes you, and not to be lazy and putting off righteous deeds to the day after. A good example of this is people neglecting to perform the Hajj, saying, well, I'll do it next year, and then next year comes and they have a new excuse, and so on. Let this ayah be a reminder to all those who are lazy in performing righteous actions. We learn from this ayah that Yawm al-Qiyamah exists. So for example, if you are asked, do you believe in Yawm al-Qiyamah? You say yes. And then one asks, what's the evidence? Well, the evidence is this ayah amongst many others. You should always be able to prove the core fundamentals of your beliefs. We also take that Yawm al-Qiyamah is not just any old day. It is a day in which you are requited for your actions, good for good, evil for evil. Yes, it is true that people could be requited for their actions in this world, but the most perfect form of requital is on Yawm al-Qiyamah. We also take from this ayah that if you are asked, what is the Islamic definition of success? You quote this ayah, because this ayah gives the Islamic definition of success is to be removed far away from Jahannam and to be entered into Jannah. This is success. Many people feel that success is landing a lucrative career and being rich and able to do what you want to and being financially independent. They have this idea of success. But as this ayah tells us that this enjoyment is an enjoyment of deception. So the kuffar's definition of success is actually just a deception. And this ayah, in telling us that the enjoyment of this life is an enjoyment of deception, it's seeking to detach our hearts from this world. Because if we know that this world is an enjoyment of deception, why would we invest our energy in this world? Rather, we want to invest our energy for the akhirah and working for that life. And that all the work that you do in this world should serve you in preparing for the akhirah. The work you do in this world should not be an end, rather it should be a means to an end. And the end is to work for the akhirah and to prepare yourself for that day. And we take ayah number 186. لَتُبْلَوُنَّ فِي أَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ وَلَتَسْمَعُنَّ مِنْ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَمِنْ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا أَذًى كَثِيرًا وَإِنْ تَصْبِرُوا وتتقوا فإن ذلك من عزم الأمور. He begins by saying لَتُبْلَوُنَّ. The verb is bala yablu, which means to try or to test someone. The noon shadda at the end is for emphasis, so as to say you will surely be tested. How so? Fi amwalikum, regarding your wealth, meaning you could suffer a loss in your wealth. If you're a businessman, you may suffer a loss instead of making a profit. Wa anfusikum, and in yourselves. So this could take the form of illness and injury, even loss of life of those who are beloved to you. And he says, وَلَا تَسْمَعُنَّ, from سَمِعَ يَسْمَعُ, to hear, and the noon shadda is for the emphasis. You will surely hear from those who were given the book before you. This refers to the Jews and the Christians, of course. And from those who ashraku, meaning commit shirk, and shirk means sharing, those who share with Allah. Notice it does not mean polytheism. Polytheism is part of shirk, yes, but shirk is broader. An atheist is a mushrik because he shares his own desires with Allah Jalla wa Ala, meaning he puts his desires on a status which ought to be reserved for Allah. So an atheist is absolutely a mushrik, but is not a polytheist. Anyway, he says you will hear from them adhan kathira, much annoyance. So this takes the form of offensive words and writing. They will insult the Prophet, they will insult teachings of Islam and emblems of Islam. They will cast aspersions on the reputation and honor of Muslims. They will make mockery and that type of thing. Of course, we can witness this around us today. What is the advice given in the face of all of this? He says, but if you tasbiru sabr, if you are patient, and tattaqu, you maintain your taqwa, then indeed that is from the azm al-umur. So keeping patient means that you're not going to lash out or start attacking people, because this could put you in a worse situation and give the kuffar the excuse they need to attack back. And tattaqu, taqwa, we have spoken about this before, but here it would simply mean that you keep your duty to Allah Jalla wa Ala. You keep worshipping Allah as you are commanded, you keep adhering to that which is ordered, and you refrain from that which is prohibited. So you keep your focus, in other words. As for the azm al-umur, then umur is the plural of amr, meaning matter, and azm means a firm resolve and a firm dedication and a firm conviction. So it means to say that these are matters, meaning practicing sabr and taqwa in the face of hostility. This is from those matters in which a person needs a firm resolve. If you are weak, you will end up making the wrong decision. Maybe you end up lashing out and reacting to the offense given to you. But a person who has strong will and firm resolve will remain like a mountain, unshaken, even in the face of hostility. There's a second interpretation to azm al-umur, which is to say that this is from the matter in which Allah Jalla wa Ala has firmly ordered you. So the resolve is coming from Allah now, not from you. So Allah is 100% committed to ordering you to carry out this particular matter of sabr and taqwa in the face of hostility. And both of these meanings are correct. Even though they are different, they are not contradictory. So we may accept both. Notice also when he says la min azm al-umur, this lam is lit-tawqid, for emphasis. It often comes after the inna, which is also for tawqid. Anyway, reflecting on this ayah, the main lesson to learn from this ayah is that this ayah is preparing us for trials that will come our way. So it's always a useful idea to prepare yourself for trials and tribulations and problems which are on the horizon. And he's also telling us how to deal with these problems. And just 2 words will be enough: sabr and taqwa. And so we find from this that those people who attack the kuffar with violence, when the kuffar mock the Prophet or emblems of Islam, that these people are not carrying out this ayah. They probably do not even know about this ayah, which tells them to keep patient and keep their duty to Allah Jalla wa Ala. Keep on practicing your deen. It is the best way to counteract the hatred from the kuffar. As for counteracting it with violence and attacking them, then this will simply strengthen the case for the kuffar. They will have an excuse to say, oh look, what the Muslims are doing to us. Is this not what we were warning you about? How violent Muslims are because their deen teaches them to be violent and barbaric. So these Muslims are simply playing into the hands of the kuffar who are plotting against the Muslimin. The best thing to do is to simply keep your focus, keep patient, keep practicing the deen, keep calling people to tawheed. And eventually the kuffar and those who are plotting against the deen will crack under their own weight, because that is the inevitable consequence of evil. It cracks under its own weight. One might say, but this ayah is speaking about the Jews and Christians. Okay, maybe the Jews we can understand. They are people of plotting and planning. But what about the Christians? Does the Quran not speak positively about the Christians? Where in Surah Al-Ma'idah it says that you will find those closest to you in love, those people who say, we are Christians. This is ayah 82. We say that this ayah is speaking about specific types of Christians, because if you look at the ayah after it, it says that is because amongst them there are priests and monks, and they are not proud, and when they hear what has been sent down to the messenger, their eyes are filled with tears because of what they recognize of the truth. Now, would you say that this ayah applies to most Christians today? The answer is no. Most Christians would sooner mock the ayat of Allah than cry to the ayat of Allah. It should also be noted that this ayah is not abrogated by those ayat talking about fighting in the way of Allah. This ayah is not abrogated, rather it is to be acted upon. And every context has an appropriate action. We also learn of the virtuous nature of having a firm resolve and conviction in the face of hostility, because it is not easy keeping composed when you are being attacked ideologically. It is not easy keeping composed when you feel your blood is boiling and you feel like lashing out. This is where a firm resolve is praiseworthy and commendable. هذا والله أعلم.